Thank you very much. I look forward to an engaging session. I think, which verse is this? Ecclesiastes 10, verse 19. Does anyone remember what it says? Feasts are made for laughter, wine makes merry, but money what? Answers all things. So whatever you want to do in life, you cannot, even if you try, you cannot run away from the fact that money is part of all our lives, however young you are. I know it's a youth seminar, but there are also married couples that are here. There are also those that are 40, 38, 35. And I'm hoping that in the short space of time that I have, I'll be able to impart the little knowledge that I have. Thank you. Right. You may take your seats. Once again, I don't take this opportunity lightly, and allow me to begin my presentation. As you heard earlier on, I started by making reference to Ecclesiastes 10, verse 19. You can see from the salutation on that slide there, that's the reference verse that I wanted to start with. Moving on. Now, this supposed complicated topic on financial literacy, it should have started when all of us were in junior school. But unfortunately, our schooling system, whether it's here in Zambia, I saw someone flying a Zambian flag, or anywhere else in our continent, Africa, the topic is not yet being taught in class. And for that reason, it explains to a large extent why most people, if we can't get a job, we think we are stuck. Why? Our schooling system, as you see later on in another slide, does not teach us to use the talents that God gave us. For those of us who want to refer to a verse, I think it's Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. It speaks about how we can touch on our talents. There's a separate section as we go through our slides which speaks to that. So, what is financial literacy? You will see later on. When does it start? From a point where a child can differentiate between a dollar note, a $2 note, a $5 note. So if you are a parent and you are here, financial appreciation at a young age must be a dinner table discussion in the home. Why? The earlier you start talking about financial literacy to your child, the easier it will be for them when you take them to the shop not to cry for something that we didn't discuss before we left the house as something you're going to buy. My kids, my youngest is 13. They know before we leave the gate, we'll have discussed and agreed on what's being bought. Beyond that, there are no new demands when you get to Pick and Pay or to Bon Marché or to whatever place you go and shop. Why is this topic important? Aside from Ecclesiastes 10, verse 19, the only free things we get in life are lots of sunshine and free oxygen. Should you be unfortunate enough to be admitted in a theater, in some hospital, that same oxygen will have to be paid for. So as much as it's free as you are breathing it now, when you go to Paris or Avenues or wherever else you go for medical treatment and you need oxygen, you would have to pay for it. That, in a nutshell, is how important money is in our lives. Let's not confuse that with 1 Timothy 6, verse 10, which talks about money being the root of all evil. Why? As Matthew 6:24 says, you cannot serve God and money at the same time. As much as money is important, please remember, God comes first. Now, this topic called financial literacy, which is not taught in junior school, high school, or even college, let alone in the workplace, speaks to your ability to budget, speaks to your ability to save, let alone knowing the difference between how much you earn and how much you can spend and how much you should save first before you even start spending. But instead of us as Zimbabweans who are used to US dollars, and we have what is called the National Mattress Bank, where we keep money under the mattress, you are supposed to make that money make money for you. So, if you are one of those national mattress bankers, after today's session, please find someone within your network who can assist you in creating more money from the little that you have, however little it is, or however little you think it is. Because most people do not bother to start something when it comes to growing their money simply because they think the amount of money they have is too little. And yet, starting a broiler project with 25 chicks does not cost more than $150. And I know most of us here have $150 under the mattress somewhere. Now, as you can see from that slide, we're just emphasizing the point that there is no area of our lives that does not need money. There is about 8 sections of our lives, spiritual included. All of them, and I mean all of them, rely on their wealth and finance. So the other 7, if you think about it, whether it's spiritual, you need to come to church dressed for God, you need money to come to church, you need tithes and offerings. I think it's Malachi 3:10. But at the same time, if you are studying, you need books, you need tuition fees. If it's family, you need to feed your family, pay school fees, etc., etc. So that slide, in a nutshell, summarizes what role money plays in all our lives. You see, without money, there's very little that you can do. I repeat, without money. Never mind how adequate it is. Just the mere fact that more so if you are an adult and you're supposed to leave your parents' nest. And because of lack of money, you become an adult child staying with your parents. That's how degrading the sense of not having money can be to a young person who has dreams. Worse if that person actually went to college, got a degree, and maybe even a master's, but they can't make the kind of money that they need. Now, speaking of what you need, please raise your hand if you know, whatever age you are, if you know how much you need in a month. Raise your hand. No, it's not a trick question. Raise your hand if you know how much you need in a month. Needless to say, it's only about 5% of the hands that have gone up, which summarizes, next slide please, summarizes how our miseducation system has made us appear as if we don't know who we are. Speaking of our miseducation system, if you ask a Zimbabwean to recite a paragraph from a textbook, which textbook they had memorized, they'll do it. If you ask a Zimbabwean to pass an exam, who pass an exam? Okay, within limits, because I know that the pass rate for O-level is only 20%. The point of that slide is our schooling system does not teach us to find out how God fearfully and wonderfully created us. Here, I'm speaking to talents. And then back to Matthew 25, 14 to 30. How many of us went to school, whether it's junior school or high school, where just even one lesson, your teacher or lecturer asked you what your talents are? Just one lesson in all your 13 years in junior and high school, wherein your lecturer or teacher asked you, what are you naturally good at? Never. Why? The teachers don't know any better. Why? It's because our teacher training program does not, whether by design or by default, does not address that very key issue. We all know of a lot of friends, family members, ex-schoolmates, etc., who were not good academically. Remember I said earlier on, O-level pass rate about 20%. What happens to the 80%? I'm sure you know a lot of those 80% supposed failures who are now technicians, who are now carpenters, who are now fixing cars, who are now electricians. Why? They chose to visit their natural skill. Next slide. So if you are here and you have no idea what your natural talents are, there's a slide for you later on. Now, coming back to the home, where we said financial literacy, financial appreciation, financial wellness should and must be a dinner table discussion. Therein lies our dilemma. Our parents went through the same schooling system where they were taught to study hard, or go to a good school, study hard, pass your exams, get a degree or get a course, get a job, start earning money, save, invest in some retirement fund, and boom, by the time you retire, you're good to go. If you are Zimbabwean and you were old enough in 2008, please remove the word pension fund from your vocabulary. We all know what that means. Now, later on, you find out what that translates to in terms of your plan B, because you cannot be working in your 80s. Our retirement age in Zim ranges from 60, 62, and 65, depending on your pension fund rules, whichever pension fund you subscribe to. I listened to some program on SABC this past week, where there's about 4,000 South African companies that are deducting pension fund contributions from employees, but they are not disbursing the same contributions to a pension fund. But the employee's money is being taken out. So can you imagine how that employee would fare in life post-retirement, worse even if they're retrenched? Like we said earlier on, financial literacy must start early. If you are 16 and this is your first time hearing about financial literacy, you are 11 years late. But that said, it doesn't stop you from starting to learn what financial literacy is all about. I hear the age range here starts from 15 all the way up to 40. It's about like a 25-year gap. I also asked one of your youth pastors if the youth coordinators are in a position to be taught on how to teach financial literacy so that this topic becomes embedded in our programs within the church. You see, the beauty about our education system in Zim is that we are very good at absorbing information and regurgitating. So the moment we have that program for youth coordinators, wherein they're actually checked that are they applying the financial literacy stuff in their personal lives first before they can be unleashed onto unsuspecting youths. If we do it like that, then we are guaranteed that only the correct content is being passed on to the trained youth coordinators. Next slide, please. Now, As it says on the slide, money is a life skill. Now, picture this. How many of us think a salary is enough, or is a salary can ever be enough? Remember earlier on I asked you, what is your enough? Only 5% raised their hands. Meaning, if I have to ask a couple that is here, how much it costs them to just have just a basic budget in the home, I tell you, most people are living below the so-called poverty datum line. Just by comparison, in the USA, if you are classified as being financially stable, your annual gross income would be $75,000 USD, which translates to $6,250 per month, if my math is still working in my head. Now, how many of us here are clocking $6,250 in a month? I can hear some mumbling here. Can I have an answer, please? You see, this is precisely why this issue of money must be treated as a life skill. Why? Oxygen, sunshine are the only free things you get. Now, less than 1% of young Africans are given a chance. Just what we're doing here, this is not a common occasion or occurrence where you get a chance to hear what being financial literacy entails, but more importantly, how you can apply it in your own life when it comes to personal finances. The question now is, within the church, how can that be rectified? I've just thrown in a suggestion, which, you see, there's this misconception between giving in the church and how much you have. The Bible is very clear. What's the percentage? Of what? It just says 10% of your income. It doesn't talk about net or gross. And the cheerful giver gives what? 10% off? Gross. Prophet, I think we've got an issue here. I can hear mumblings whether it's gross or net. But on a more important issue, once we start talking about how much you need in the home, the issue becomes, how much do you earn and how much do you save first? And then you spend that which is left after saving. We call it pre-spending saving. The good thing is, here in Zim, if it's dollars, chances are they will not lose their value. But the question is, once you have saved those dollars, what do you do with them? Do you keep them under the pillow? Because you save for different reasons. You could be saving for school fees come second term because in 2 weeks' time, schools are opening. Or you could be saving for a deposit for a stand where you would be hoping to save some more in the future and start building your home. Or you could just be saving to buy a car, etc., etc. Reasons for saving vary from person to person. But for those of us who have lived through Zimbabwe and saw what happened from 06, 07, I saw an article which was saying we have changed our currency 6 times. Yeah, 6 times, including the gold one. Now, with that kind of precarious economy, you cannot afford not to have a second, a third, or even a fourth income stream. With that kind of precarious economic situation, you cannot rely on one income stream. Your average millionaire has 7. Who on God's earth do you think you are to rely on one? Next slide, please. Now, the easy part about how to acquire this skill, because Zimbos are readers. The easy one is something like this. Number 2, youth coordinators. Number 3, in the school, you can have career guidance teachers being taught on how to teach what we're talking about here in the classroom. Having just one 30-minute, 45-minute lesson per week, even every 2 weeks. Imagine how grade 7 lives can be changed after finishing their public exams in October and they go home until January of the following year. Can you imagine how their high school lives could change if that period would be used to train youngsters on preparing for high school, including financial literacy? Google is your uncle. Google is your aunt. If you want some data, instead of watching useless videos, please use some of that data to even set up a Google alert on anything to do with youth financial literacy. What it means is, whatever article that appears in the media anywhere in the world, it will come to your inbox via email. That's the quickest and cheapest way of at least getting to know what financial literacy is all about, whilst we are waiting for our education system to be sorted out. Now, once you are financially literate, what does that mean? Can you imagine not worrying about money? Just for a second, imagine that. Not worrying about money. You know how much you earn, you know how much you can spend, you know how much you can put aside, and of those savings, you know how much is left before it's enough for you to start a project. You do not have stress. And the biggest trigger of stress, what doctors refer to as psychosomatic disorders, is money issues. Money causes the biggest levels of stress to a normal adult who's supposed to be earning enough money and look after his or her family. Now, when you are financially literate and you have less stress, it also allows you to have a solid plan B for the time when you're too tired to be working for someone, i.e. the post-retirement stage of your life. Now, when you look at the points on that slide, financial decision-making becomes a lot easier if you are financially literate. Working out how much is left after spending is much easier when you are financially literate. Working out the cost of the product you want to sell becomes much easier if you are financially literate. Never mind how to price it and have a profit, which profit can help you grow your business or put aside a savings and build that house you've always been waiting for. Even when you're the kind of person who says, I want to buy or own a house through a mortgage from a bank. You should be able to read what the bank says, that's your installment every month. Find out what the interest cost is versus the interest rate. All those things are doable. As you always say, if you passed your grade 7 math, financial literacy cannot be a difficult topic for you. So raise your hand if you did not pass your O-level maths. No, grade 7 maths. Next slide, please. You see, there's a gentleman called Jim Rohn. He talks about formal education versus self-education. Given that our formal education system does not teach us financial literacy, what's left for us to do, the Google alert that I talked about earlier on, is to self-teach. Imagine if, just like we used to do in high school, past papers, you read a chapter, questions on the chapter, group discussions. Imagine if the same approach is taken when it comes to financial literacy in the church. You will not have anyone from UFIC struggling when it comes to understanding their finances. Next slide, please. Now, remember I made reference to Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. Who are you? Who are you, as fearfully and wonderfully created you may be? Who are you? Next slide. Do you know what your God-given talents are? That's your after-session homework. You have at least 3. Please write them down. Youth pastors, please check on your flock if they've written down what their talents are. Number 2, do you know what you are naturally good at? Quick story about me. You heard that I'm an accountant. And I'm speaking to you right now. I was never in the debating club. I was never in the public speaking club. I only found out that I was naturally gifted at speaking 2006 when I was 35 at church, men's fellowship. Someone said, you are an accountant, business consultant. Can you talk to men about how to save, start a business? Next thing, are you a trained speaker? As they say, the rest is history. Come July 2012, I had a program on Star FM, 9:30 to 10 o'clock every Monday for 4 years and 9 months, just talking about financial literacy. The program used to be called Purse Strings. Why? Prophetess? The presenters were ladies, so they chose to have a ladies' version. Instead of calling it wallet strings, they called it purse strings. I had no problem, but I just had to do my job. The point I'm making here is, for you to be able to speak on radio without sounding like you're reading, you need, 1, to know what you're talking about. 2, you need to know how to share that which you know. I've just shared with you my own story. Now, the highest I ever got paid for speaking, remember, no public speaking training, was $3,000 in 75 minutes. I hope I've ignited a sense of wanting to know who you are, how you were created, and how that can then be monetized with the assistance of a structured program within the church. Next slide, please. A few questions on helping you find out who you are. What thrills you? What makes you lose track of time when doing it? And lastly, what do you yearn to do? The good thing is the slides are there in the system. The youth pastors can then use them later on. That's just examples. The ones I put in red are mine. I know I look a bit overweight. More so when I look at Prophet. Yeah. But if you go to the Sunday Mail, 29 July 1990, back page, best volleyball player in Zimbabwe. So, the unfortunate thing, Prophet, is that I didn't go to your St. George's, your fancy schools where out of easy got a scholarship to go to study at some fancy varsity outside Zim. But here I am. I made use of my audiographic memory and computing complex numbers quickly. That's how then I ended up choosing accounting over law or pharmacy or any other profession that I thought, this does not require any use of your ability to work with figures easily. Next slide, please. Now, your challenge as the youth, identify what makes you develop goose pimples. Okay, this is the multi-country. I would have used the Sona expression of goose pimples, but English will do. What is my passion? What is it that you, if you're asked to do, you don't think twice about it? And you will not even count the cost of you being in the place where you've been asked to be to deliver that which you are passionate about. You see, if this exercise was done prior to choosing O-level subjects, no one would fail O-level. I repeat, no one would fail their O-levels. Why? If there's a connection between subjects and your natural being, your parents won't even have to tell you to go and study. Why? you find yourself studying on your own. Can I hear an amen to that? You see, 20% pass rate at O level. Just think about it. Now, how many did not go to A level? Never mind college. And you look at the limitation on the number of vocational training centers we have in Zim, I think it's about 46, and the number of universities. It's only now that you've got lots of universities. When I finished all A level in 1990, there was only UZ and NAST. And you can imagine the competition. If you did not have 12 points, there was no varsity for you. If you did not have at least 3 Bs or ABC, there was no place for you at NAST or UZ. Now you've got 14, 16 varsities, but the point remains. Find out the connection between how you were created and how you intend to make money. Next slide, please. Your talent is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift back to God. Please read Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30, and the deeper meaning of it. This is just a summary of that verse. There are lots of people who were sharp academically, but are broke. They can't even make $10 in a day. But in high school, they were the sharpest, which means their sharpness is being misapplied in the wrong area. Now, a few other issues that you need to talk about. Your emotional intelligence, what to say, what not to say, when to keep quiet, when to listen, and sometimes listening without the intention of responding. That skill is rare. Business acumen. In Zim, there are a lot more people who are unemployed or self-employed or underemployed than those who are employed. So the issue of business needs no overemphasis. And then, just being on time. I remember there's a church in close to, in Warren Park. We had agreed I'll give a talk like this at 8 p.m. I got there at 7:45. There was nobody. 8 o'clock, 8:15, 9 o'clock, I drove off. Guess what time they phoned me? 9:45. Mr. Chipara, murukupi. Punctuality shows whoever you're dealing with how serious you are, but more importantly, how much you respect your agenda and that person. Now, let me quickly go through what is being referred to there as synthetic imagination. That's a combination of the academic stuff and your talents. Look at me here. Remember I said accountant, figures, I'm talking about financial literacy. But at the same time, I have the natural ability to speak. The two are now being combined. Why is it important to have synthetic imagination? Sometimes school on its own doesn't work. And sometimes talent on its own doesn't work. If you can combine the two, you have the lifestyle of your choice, make the money you want to make, and still be having a full life. How many of us here enjoy the job we are doing? Okay, again, 2-3%. Given a choice of earning the same amount of money you're earning, but without having to go to work, would you still go to work? I thought as much. You wouldn't. Which means you don't actually enjoy your job. You are going there because that's the only thing on your to-do list or on your agenda that you can wake up to every morning and spend time at. And then you come back in the evening. The importance of linking your natural talents and your qualifications cannot be overemphasized. Next slide, please. Now, speaking of natural talents, it's okay to be academically sharp, but at the same time, who watches football here? Wrong question. Who knows Odom Tugudzi? Who knows that Oliver Mtukudzi became an international artist? How many times do you think he rehearsed with his group for him to be as good as he was? Quick, those from Zambia, anyone from Dola? Those from Zambia. Anyone from Dola in Zambia knows Mtukudzi? Confirm? I was surprised. I was in Dola October last year. There's a colleague who has Mtukudzi, profile picture, ringtone Mtukudzi, songs on the phone Mtukudzi, and they are Zambian. Would you not want that to be you? Next slide, please. But for that to happen, there's what is called the 10,000 hour rule. For you to master that which you need to master, repetition, practice are the key. Repetition and practice. Cristiano Ronaldo, if you ask Rio Ferdinand, he will tell you how many hours Ronaldo stayed behind the training field after the official end of the training. Because he wanted to be the best. And we all know how good he is. What is it that you are aiming to get to 10,000 hours? What is it that you are aiming to get to 10,000 hours? For me, is spreading financial wellness throughout Africa or wherever English is spoken. If that can happen, I'm a happy person. Next slide, please. Now, if you are not clear about which 10,000 hours you are clocking on a daily basis, be careful of throwing away your hours. Be careful of throwing away your hours. Look at that slide there. The guy just turned back just before he got to the diamonds. Just before he got to the diamonds. Let that not be you. Now, remember the Venn diagram that I thought I had put in a certain order, but was further down. That's the Venn diagram I was talking about. It simply combines what you love, which is your natural talent, what you're good at, your qualifications, your professional skills, but more importantly, what pays well. Where those three meet is your income earning model. Where those three meet is your income earning model. Remember what I said to you about the highest I got paid in the shortest space of time? I was training seed farmers on farming as a business. I was training seed farmers. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a farmer. But every farm project needs a crop budget. Crop budgeting is figures. If you then speak to an ADEX officer on what fertilizer is required per hectare, what seed is required per hectare, what chemicals are required, and at what point they are applied and in what volume, I have the information I need as an accountant to then come up with a crop budget for a hectare. If they want to do 100 hectares, I just do the multiplication. And there you go. Sometimes you don't have to multiply every unit of that budget when you increase from 1 hectare to 100. But the point I'm making here is your income earning model, when it meets with your natural talent and your professional skills, work ceases to be a chore. Next slide, please. Next. Now, quick talk on how money is made. The last one, please. There's a big X there. No stealing. You either earn it. Can I hear what the ladies will say to the marrying to it? Ladies, You see, the funny thing is, I was speaking to a youth pastor in the waiting lounge, and I've come to appreciate that ladies are actually a lot more empowered than the men. As you would imagine, the men are not clapping. Why? When we were growing up, we were supposed to be the breadwinners. We were supposed to be the ones going to the bush, looking for whatever it is that I would use to feed my family. But the roles have changed. But unfortunately, as I was asking in the waiting room, the men's fellowship is not holding up the young men for them to be able to adjust to what's happening around them. That partly explains why young men are running away from committing to marriage. I'll say it again. Young men are running away to committing to marriage because he's not even earning $10 a day. So, marrying into it, I hope, does not now apply to men marrying a woman with money. Okay, inheritance? Yeah, if you're lucky, but with what's been happening in Zim, good luck with that. So what's left here is you've got to earn your money. Whatever gender you are, you've got to earn your money. Now, jobs are there. But can you sell your job? No. Can you pass it on to a kid? No. We all know that you can be fired, retrenched, or they'll reduce your working hours, and you've got no one to complain to. I left employment when I was turning 32. I'd pledged when I was still at UZ that I would not work for more than 10 years. Like clockwork, 9 years, 4 months post-University of Zimbabwe, stopped. Wasn't easy. It was in 2003. It wasn't easy. Because 5 years later, the economy flipped. Remember? 2008? The quintillions in whatever number, I think we came up with new numbers here in Zimbabwe. But the point here is, if you then know what you are supposed to be doing, you link it to your talents and link to your professional skills, you will make your money. Now, that slide speaks to how much you enjoy what you do and how much you make. A Windy, conductor of a combi, he enjoys his job. How much does he make? Does an engineer enjoy his job or have as much fun as a Windy? Sorry, a Windy is the bus conductor, for those who don't know. The slide there also links how you earn your money and how much enjoyment you're having. Why? Life is not a rehearsal. Today, the 25th of April, when it's gone, it's gone. There will not be another 25th of April 2024 again. Which is why, as you go through life, please ensure that you are enjoying life, but obviously enjoying responsibly. Next slide, please. Now, this slide speaks to not limiting yourself to one income source. Which income source is your paycheck? There are people who argue that, we go to work. I've done enough research on that point to prove that every person has at least 38 to 40 free waking hours per week. Not when you're asleep, no. Do the math. 24 hours a day times 7. 168, isn't it? See, I'm even quicker than a calculator. 168. Now, you sleep how many hours per week? 7 hours a day. Call it 50 hours. Work, 40 hours. That's 90, isn't it? Church, Give it 10 hours a week. You're 100 hours, isn't it? Family time, cooking, traveling to work, back to the office, all those things. I'll tell you, you'll be left with not less than 30 free hours when you're awake. What are you doing with them? So if you are employed and you tell me, there's no time to start plan B, plan C, and plan D, please think again. We all are given 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Let's change the way we've been using our time to a point where even if it's just 1 hour a day that you choose to look for more customers, you'll find them at some point. Even if it's 1 hour a day where you choose to have coffee with a more knowledgeable person who is in business, maybe same or different line as you, but they've got more experience in business, or they've already done their 10,000 hours, just to tap into their knowledge. That's a plus in terms of preparing yourself for having more than one income stream. Or else, if you're not careful, as the slide says, you end up working for the undergraduate. Now, just to go to the next slide. This I can talk from my head. That slide. Remember, we're talking about work. There's also being self-employed. There's also being a business owner. There's also being an investor. The four are not mutually exclusive. Quick example. Please raise your hand if you're a medical doctor. Okay, there's some few hands there. You work for Pari. You've got your surgery in Highfield. You have bought into a pharmacy, which is run by a pharmacist. Pharmacist is 51%, you have 49%. And all the money you're making from Pari, from the pharmacy, and from the surgery, that money is going into buying properties. You're an investor. That's how simple I can lay this out. Our schooling system, again, did not teach us to learn how to make money outside of employment. Therein lies the need for us to self-educate on how you can be self-employed, how you can be part of a business without you actually running it, and lastly, being an investor where later on you see the slide talks about passive income. Money that is made whilst you are asleep. Everybody needs to make some kind of money, profit, whilst you are asleep. The easiest one is rent. The only work you do, you send a text message to your tenant, can I have my money? That's it. And the rest of the month you are sleeping. But for you to get to a stage where you're an investor, look at those combinations there. You can be an employee, a business owner, an investor. You can be an employee, a self-employed person, an investor. The combinations are only limited by your own brain. Nobody else. Yes, the issue of starting capital is real. Therein lies the issue of having an in-house savings club for UFIC, where imagine if you were to say, the honest ones, let's start a savings club with the blessing of the pastor. Where, if you want to start a business, there is someone in the church who vets it. Is it a genuine business or not? You've got some Mkoma Zondi here, who's a figure person like me. He can vet your business plan any day, even at 2 a.m. he can do it. Once it's been vetted, then you can borrow from the savings group. You given 6 months to pay it back at a reasonable interest rate. And then you start making your own money. You see, remember the National Metals Bank that we talked about? If that money was put into an official savings group for UFIC, structured, constitution, directors, rules, everything, that money can grow faster than probably our national rate of growth at the economy level, which is about 3.5%. So if there's money sitting on your mattress, please bring it to the prophet. And that money can be put to good use. Next slide, please. Now, the earned type of income we've talked about, the passive one we've talked about. Portfolio, which is paper money. I'll confess here, I've always had issues with the stock market. I've always had issues with the money market. Why? You do not have control over what happens to your money. In an economy like here in Zim, my humble suggestion is, can we stay away from investments where you don't control your money? Because once money is lost, it's lost. Yes, I'm an accountant. Yes, I was taught about the stock market and money market, but I'm a pragmatic person. If your money is not yet overflowing, stay away from investments where your money is not in your control. You are better off investing in a pharmacy where the pharmacist is your friend from high school. You go there every day after work, count the stock, count the cash, find out how much has been sold, how much has been banked, and you have access to the bank account. That's an investment. Not putting your money where you have no idea what the CEO of XYZ listed company is doing with it. Next slide, please. Next. Now, for those of us who don't have capital, remember we're talking about starting other ways of making money? That's why I threw in the idea of an internal savings club, where you can go and get some money from the savings club, and then you start your own business or expand your existing business. Now the question is, there's good debt and there's bad debt. If you are borrowing to fly to Dubai, I'm sure you know the answer to that. If you are borrowing to get married, next slide please. If you are borrowing to get married, ladies, if the ladies are saying no, men, please take note. Don't borrow to get married. The last thing you want is to start a marital union in debt. Remember, the money you borrowed is going to your in-laws. It's not being invested. You are thanking your in-laws, but please let it not be from debt. Now, why are we talking about this? There's a saying which goes like, financial insanity is buying things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people who don't even care about us. If that's you, please say, I repent. Next slide. Now, what I was leading to when I was asking whether the debt is good or bad is what we call generically debt classification. So the debt is classified just by what the money is going to be used for and is used for. There are people who go to the bank, borrow under the pretext that they want to put the money in the business. They get $30,000. $20,000 goes to a car, and $10,000 goes to the business. When the first installment is due, the money is not there. So, as much as you may have had the good intention to borrow for your business, let that money go into the business. Why? There's a concept called delayed gratification versus instant gratification. The delayed one says, wait on the fancy things until your business can afford. The instant one says, get $30,000, buy a $20,000 car because John, my schoolmate from high school, is driving a Mercedes-Benz. Wrong formula. So, before you decide to go and borrow, please ask yourself, is it good debt or is it bad debt? Next slide, please. If it's bad debt, please don't. If it's bad debt, please don't. And speaking of debt, never be a surety or co-surety to a loan that you have no control over. Don't be a principal debtor or co-principal debtor, please. If you are borrowing, if someone is borrowing, let them do their signing on their own. Don't get involved, because should they fail to repay the money, they will come for your assets, even if you never got a cent from the loan that they got from the bank. So, in summary, before you borrow, look for a figures person within your network so they can do the calculations for you. Remember, the assumption is you're borrowing for something that is productive, that will generate income, which income is more than the repayment and will leave you with a profit. If you're not financially trained, there are enough people in your network. Next slide, please. Now, if what we have been talking about in the last few minutes, if there are few, if you don't do it, that slide speaks to what would happen to your income earning graph. You're working, happy days. Earning a salary, happy days. Come retirement and you have not done any investment. And remember what you talked about on the pension fund system? Non-existent. What do you think will happen to your income at 62? Aporoja. Please, let's go back to the slide. Let's go back. You see that red line? That the speed with which that red line dropped is what will happen to your income after either retrenchment or retirement. Sometimes it's good to scare people into doing that which they need to do. In this instance, if you do not have, you see, I've got a mining client where any of their employees can phone me about their financial situation. Just before I was picked up at Westgate, this guy phones me. He's worried about the platinum prices dropping. And Anglo has retrenched people in South Africa about 1,000 or plus or minus. So he's worried. He's an engineer. So he says to me, what will I do if I am also retrenched? So I said to him, do you have a side hustle? He said, yes. Can money be made whilst you're underground? Yes. What's the comparison between your side hustle income and your net? And he said, the salary is more than the side hustle. By how much? 3 times. Now, the formula is supposed to be the other way around. Should you want to get to a stage where you can easily stop working, resign properly, and say, hey, I'm done with being an employee, your side hustle must give you 3 times your gross. When you get to that stage, you can even feel it yourself that, you know what, now I'm a free person. I don't have to be a time slave. Sorry, I'm not disparaging work. But there will come a time when you'll be too tired to work. When that time comes, will you have investments that are generating enough income to look after your monthly expenses? Post-retirement, there is what is called the income replacement ratio. What it speaks to is very simple. Whatever your last payslip was, supposing you're earning $1,000, your post-retirement income should at least be 70 to 80% of your last paycheck net. Now do the math. It's scary. How do you get to the 70 to 75% average? That's why I'm saying 3 times your net should be, your gross should be your side hustle income to make sure that you're covered. You can actually start that when you're still employed so that you ease into the time when you say, I'm done with work. Whether you're 45, whether you're 60, or you're 38, you will call the shots. My fellow Africans, when there is no pension system that is working in any of your countries where you come from, you have no choice but to have your own plan B in terms of income generation post-retirement. Yes, most of us here are the youth. under 40. But you will retire at some point. Let me give you an example. A heifer costs about $400. Imagine if you start buying a heifer every 6 months instead of the National Mattress Bank. You're buying a heifer every 6 months. You don't even have to own a farm. You have friends that have farms where they also have cattle. You just tag your cattle. You go and check. Is it pregnant? Has it given a calf? And you tag, and you tag, and you tag until you get to 100 cows. All you'll have to do is visit them once or twice a month. Buy the deadline for the back, buy the, there's another one, the dip, just for your tick grease, all those things. To make sure that none of them die because of diseases that are preventable. And you just ask the ADEX office in that area to go and see your cows once a month. And you pay them $20. The path to having an income generating model that allows you to have a second income stream and a third one requires a coffee meeting. Not all of us are financially trained. But once you've had the coffee meeting to confirm what it is that you want to do for Plan B, Plan C, or Plan D, make sure that the figures are on paper. You have an accountability partner that you can ask if the figures make sense. Yes, it could be your spouse, but if your spouse studied medicine, how can she advise you on how to make money from cattle? Please go to the people who can give you the correct advice. Next slide, please. Right, this slide, I like it because I am a son of a security guard and a housewife. I'll say it again. My dad was a security guard with ZESA in Kariba. He was employed to guard the power station. My mom was a housewife. I was the first one in the whole clan to go to uni. I decided that I would not get to 30 before I bought a house in Harare, in the area I wanted. First stand was in Norton, Kwafugari. I was 24. My girlfriend then, now my wife, was even shocked why I was buying a stand at 24. But I said, girlfriend, thank you for what you've said, but I'm buying it anyway. Second stand, I was 26, Mount Pleasant Heights. First house, Mount Pleasant, when I was 29 years, 7 months. And I said to myself, I would not get to 30 without a house. Who are you? Where are you going? What do you want to achieve? Even Zondi did not know my history. He didn't know. You see, once you have made it, nobody cares. So, my last take-home point. Who do you hang out with? Who do you hang out with? Do you only talk about Man U, Liverpool losing yesterday to Everton, or Chelsea losing to Arsenal the day before, or Man City losing to Barcelona or whatever in the Champions League? Or you are intentional about what you discuss as the youth, whether it's at church, at home, at work, wherever you socialize. Be careful of who you spend the bulk of your free time with. Prophet Makandiwa, prophetess, thank you very much for giving me a chance to address this audience. Given that I've been doing this for the last, I don't know how many years, so please take your seats. Feel free to ask me any question. And I mean any question. Remember, I was on radio for 5 years. And people could just phone in and ask any question without notice. So, here's your chance.
Thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
To your extreme right, sir.
My name is Shekinah, and I'm 17. And you spoke about how you did accounting. And I was going to ask about, you have two people who pursue 2 careers in accounting. The first one does the base 4 years, so the second one, he goes on to be a chartered accountant. And then you see that these are different levels of experience. And then you start to wonder, I did more years and this other person just did the 4. Does it determine how far you go in life in terms of the fact that who's going to progress further in life? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question. Incidentally, I did accounting plus Ernst & Young. To answer your question in short, as much as some people did not do accounting, did do articles or pass the CA route, the advantage that you have after having done articles is knowing business systems, number one. Number two, you also get to practice the accounting bit before you are unleashed to an employer. Whereas straight from college with your 4 years, you go to an employer where you are now being taught through an on-the-job training program. But the biggest advantage I've noticed with those who have gone through the CA route, there's a price tag for a CA the moment you leave your qualification. After you've done your Deloitte, your Ernst & Young, your PricewaterhouseCoopers, or your BDO, or Grant Thornton. You have a price tag, which means it's a lot easier for you to negotiate for a salary compared to someone coming straight from college, number one. Number two, just like the cutoff point at O-level, those who go to A-level and have an advantage over those who finished at O-level. But if someone finished at O-level and went to a vocational training college to do plumbing, they may actually end up making more money than a CA. Why am I saying this? A qualification on its own does not determine how successful or more successful you're going to be in life. Go back to the 10,000 hours I talked about earlier on. Are you adding value? If the answer is yes, you may one day get to a stage where you get paid $3,000 for 1 hour, 15 minutes. So, whatever you're doing, make sure that you are so good at it to a point where you are looked for, as opposed to you looking for a job. If you get to a stage where people look for you, whether it's 4 years only or plus articles, or you finished in Form 4 and went and did your vocational training, the key point is, do your 10,000 hours translate to you being good at what you do to a point where you are sought after?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, to your extreme left.
Okay.
Thank you, Say, for such a wonderful presentation. It reached home for me because I love public speaking. My question is on the juxtaposition between wealth creation and living long. I've been studying the law of the Ikigai law on the Japanese law of long life. And in that study, I realized that we have the blue zones in the world. That's 5 blue zones where there is more life than wealth creation. So it said that there are more centenarians in those places. However, I noticed a trend in those places that most of these people, they live long, but there is no much infrastructure development. There is no wealth creation. So I want to understand that juxtaposition between long life and wealth creation, because in most places where wealth is created, what happens is that it's fast-paced. But in these blue zones, it's really slower, and most people really don't focus on growing much of their wealth, but rather staying on earth the longest.
Quick question for you. Where was that study done?
It was in Japan, in an island.
You are in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
I've answered you. You are in Zimbabwe. Should I explain? Okay.
Okay, all right, well, maybe I can further explain why I want to understand. On the juxtaposition of long life and wealth creation. Let's say I am in Zimbabwe. I want to be a centenarian. Obviously, I want to be alive. So my point now is that, is it a recommended thing to say living longer or wealth creation? Because with wealth creation, it's fast-paced, so your life expectancy, it's a bit lower, and because you have less hours to sleep. So that's what I really want to understand. Is it recommended if you want to make wealth?
Okay. I like your tenacity. Every person has a choice to make. Whether you want to work hard in your younger years and then have an easier life post your 40s, or you just want to chill, you eat your sadza and derere, matemba, even if you get to 85. There is this issue of the mix between time, money, and energy. There are people with lots of time and lots of energy, but no money. And then there are people with lots of money, no time, very little energy. And then you've got people who have got lots of energy, lots of money, and lots of time. How you progress in life and where you die, when you die, is a function of those three combined. But more importantly, what you eat and exercise. Whether you're in Japan or Zimbabwe. But the bottom line is, what is good for a person who's in that place in Japan on an island may not be good for someone here in Zimbabwe, whether male or female. But time, money, and energy, you are the one who decides how those three are going to be married. If you can do that, you live the life that God created for you. You live the life that if your grandchildren ask you at 76 that, Grandmom, did you enjoy your life? You should be able to say yes. So in short, there is no blueprint which can be spread to everyone in terms of how one should live their life. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your spirit. You feel it in your blood that this is for me. Which is why, as much as there are some, you go and see Victor people, there are people who say, no, I just want one car. For me, one car. For my wife, one house, 3 bedrooms, one for the mom and dad, one for the boys, one for the girls. And we have a balanced diet, and life is good. So, what I try to avoid is prescribe how we should live what's being lived in Japan, or how the Japanese should live that you go and see Victor life. Once you are clear about what your purpose is and how you're going to get there, what is being done by other people and how they're doing it ceases to matter. I hope I've answered your question in a diplomatic way.
Clear enough for comprehension. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the insightful talk. I like the fact that you gave an example of when you were 24 and you bought your first stand and your girlfriend then thought otherwise.
My wife now.
Yeah. So the way we view about money is different, as we are wired differently, and some of it emanate from the way we are raised, and some maybe from our money dials being things that we're willing to spend extravagantly on whilst cutting cost on things that we don't care about. But as young people, as we are here, most are preparing to probably get married. my question is, as we're in that stage where maybe you are dating and preparing for that stage, how can I find out that we see eye to eye on in terms of financial issues? And if I find out that we don't see eye to eye, because the Bible says don't be unequally yoked. If I don't see eye to, because a person whose views are different from you, it's either one of you is going to pull the other one up or the other one is going to pull you down. So you must try to make sure that you see eye to eye. But my question is, once you find out, say, you don't see eye to eye, how long should you try to make sure that your views align, and when should you probably give up if it's not working?
No, you should never give up. A very good question. We actually have a seminar that is called The Money Side of Marriage. It deals with pre and during. That way, you get to understand the principles of money without personalizing who thinks what and who doesn't think what. Once you go through that premarital financial sessions, it makes it easier for you to have a neutral discussion as a couple as to what we should do with our money. At least you'll have a common reference point. There's nothing worse than a wife who's an accountant and a husband who's a jingrisa person. The two will never agree. Why? Because men are pre-wired to think that we are in charge. But your training does not allow you to be in charge of finances. So to have a common reference point, you need to have marital counseling, premarital counseling, which talks about money. Why? Money is one of the big reasons why people have disagreements in the home. Whether it's too little, too much, or flip-flopping between the two. So, quickest answer, premarital counseling on financial issues. Once that is done, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm answered.
Thank you so much, sir, to your extreme left.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My question is on tax. When you're going under a company registration, and I've worked with companies whereby they tell you that we are tax exempted, and whereby us will be doing the tax returns processes. So I wanted to ask, is there an advantage to be tax exempted? And is it possible if you are in importing businesses, like vehicle spare parts imports businesses? Can that be done? Can we be tax exempted, or we are only supposed to be doing the tax returns?
I can see you are struggling with paying taxes, or the need to pay tax. On a more serious note, our tax laws are very clear. If you are in business and you are making a profit, that profit is re-described by ZIMRA as taxable income, and the applicable tax rates are applied to the taxable income. But the good thing is, if it's a business, you earn your income, you deduct your expenses, then what's left is what you get taxed on. And the current tax rate is 25% plus age level 3%, making it an effective tax rate of 25.75%. So surely you wouldn't mind paying something to Caesar so that we have good roads, we have good infrastructure, we have ZESA all the time. Not to say those things are there at the moment. I'm just giving an example. Why? Because the moment you earn income that is taxable, tax laws of whatever country you live in will apply. So unfortunately, you cannot easily run away from tax. At individual level, you also have what is called payroll tax, where whatever you earn, if it's above, I think the current threshold is $100, you get taxed. So whichever way you want to hide, you'll be taxed. Even as you transact in the bank, you know that 2% tax, transaction tax, they had realized that a lot of people were paying cash to each other. There was no audit trail as to how much Zondi has been paid And I said, okay, Zondi, when he gets that money, when he goes to Pick and Pay, he will pay his 2%. And if you ask Mutuli, that was one of the biggest things he did to increase the inflows into the fiscus. So in short, it's not easy to be tax exempt in a country that has tax laws. If you want to be more specific, buy coffee. We'll look at what situation you've got and check if you have anything that is exempt, which is unlikely, because income is hardly exempt. Hardly. I don't know what you'll be doing for you to be earning income that is exempt from tax. But for you to have a deeper understanding of what you are talking about and how tax laws in Zim apply, buy coffee.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm Mercy Masinyali from Victoria Falls, and I'm 16. So I struggle with this situation that when I am at home, I have a gift that I am naturally good at, and it's sort of turned into a business. And customers keep on coming in during the holidays, and when I go back to school, I have a problem that more customers are there, but I'm not available for them. That's just my first question, and I need to know how to manage that and how I can keep my customers coming in, letting them know that I'm still available even when I come back. And also, my second question is that for someone who's multi-talented, of course I understand that we're supposed to focus on one goal and one talent so that we can bring up a good, maybe entrepreneurship into that one talent. But is there any other way that we can fix or maybe focus on those three talents that you're really good at and bring up something good, maybe have even 3 different side hustles from it, but still have something stable? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, but before you go off the mic, what business are you into?
It's a very small business. It's card designing and graphic designing.
So, young lady,
That's all
never
it is.
refer to your business as small. Please,
Yes.
never disparage small beginnings. So, what do you do?
Basically what I do, I make custom cards or posters, business cards, videos, graphic designing with just my phone, from my phone, and I've created videos for companies. I've actually designed a pulpit for this church, and they're using it. I make cards for
Well done.
I make cards for various occasions. Birthday cards, I'm very, very good at birthday cards, by the way. Thank you cards. And people really like those, especially if they're custom made. Because I noticed also, maybe if you walk into a store, it's just written, happy birthday. But it's actually better to have a card written, happy birthday, Mercy, and expressing so many things about you. And at some point at school, I got those things printed out for my friends, and they were really grateful for it, and people really like those services. So I'd really like to know how I can continue with this business, because most of the times when I'm at home, customers are good, but when I come back after the holidays, it declines because people don't think I'm there because they don't know I'm back yet. I'm back from school. That's my question.
Quick question.
Yes.
What is it that you do that you can delegate to someone else?
Excuse me?
What is it that you do in your business
Yes.
that you can let someone else run with?
I don't think there is anything that I can
No,
do.
there is.
Except maybe if someone can handle my customers for me and maybe put
Okay,
them on
just
hold.
stop there. What do you mean by handling your customers?
As in like putting them on hold and be like, oh, sorry, Mercy's not available. But definitely she'll be right at you at the moment.
Anyone, if well trained, can speak to any customer at any level. So speaking to customers, that one is doable. It can be delegated. Number 2, I get the sense that you're more a designer. You
Yes,
design
that's true.
things.
Yeah.
And then you put them on paper, or there's a video, or it's an image, and then it gets printed.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Sometimes.
The printing can be done by someone. Mm-hmm. What I'm noticing is that you've got a brilliant idea, but the biggest question is, have you downloaded your thoughts onto paper? Or they're still in your head?
Some of them. At some point I did, but I stopped because focus on school had to drag me more into school, and I had to leave. So sometimes I jump back into it, sometimes I go out, so it's like a roller coaster.
You see, you're even struggling to balance between school, holiday, and business.
But I love them both.
But the point here is, can you download your idea onto a piece of paper? I can give you the 15 questions that you can answer. I can give them to Mukoma Zondi. He can then share them with you. You can answer those questions. Why? There's what is called going through the eye of the needle, where you, the person who has the idea, remains here. And you squeeze out your idea from your head onto a piece of paper. Once it's in black and white, the next stage, which is critical, is to itemize that which can be done by other people, even when you are in school. Once that has been done, I tell you, the designing bit, you can do it every day after hours, whether you are here or you're in Vic Falls, because social media is here to stay. So you can actually run your business even from Joburg. For as long as you've got someone on the ground to either print, to either cut, or deliver, or box, or talk to a client. But the starting point is squeezing out from your head onto a piece of paper what your business model is. And using the business canvas model, you can then say, this can be given out, that can be given out. But the question now is, when you then delegate, is your pricing good enough for you to be able to pay that person? If the answer is yes, then you're a business owner. For now, you're self-employed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I have a question. It goes like this. Given a situation that I have established a business and I have a friend who is helping me through the business, and as a friend, of course, and partly resources in the business. And now the friend feels entitled to the business and the business is progressing and becoming better. How best can I put it across that I am the owner and I carry the vision of the business and still keep the friendship?
A question for you. When you invited your friend to come and assist, what were the terms of reference?
There were no terms. It was a friend being there for me as a friend.
Okay, if this friend is a friend for real, what percentage of the business do they think they own?
They feel like it's a 50-50 situation.
How do you feel about 50-50? And whatever answer you're going to give me, why?
Good. 50-50 would be very unfair on my part, as I placed a lot of effort in the business and they were just there as a friend.
Don't worry. Do we have fairness here from what you've heard? First of all, your friend came to you as a friend. You did not stop them from assisting. You allowed them to assist, isn't it? At no point did you decide to have terms of reference. Therein lies issue number one when it comes to partnering in business, where you don't have a documentation on how you're going to partner and have a written agreement which is signed. You see, friendship is tested when there's money. That's the true test of friendship. Now, let me flip the question a bit. How much do you think your friend is worth in terms of shareholding, if at all?
Maybe 10% of the business.
You heard the response from the congregation. My humble advice to you is, please dig a bit deeper and ask yourself why your friend believes they own 50% of the business and why you think it's only 10%. But the key issue there is how old is the business?
It's about 5-6 months old.
Who started it?
I did.
How much money did you use to start the business?
I generated 400.
How much did you use to start the business?
The capital.
Yeah.
400.
Who put in money there?
The other half was mine, and I had an investor.
So your friend did not put any money in the business? Okay. Having explained that now, the next question is, was this friend being paid for the work they were doing?
No.
You see, there's a mixture of too many things there. The money you put in is partly yours, partly for an investor. But if you were true friends, would you allow yourself to be used by someone for 6 months and then don't get anything? Unless, in your mind, the 6-month labor that they gave you is equivalent to the 10%, which then Zonde and I will ask you, how do you arrive at 10%? If you were to pay them a salary, how much would it be? Given what they were doing for you. If you were to pay them a salary every month, how much would it be?
Well, I haven't really calculated on that.
No, roughly. It's not a trick question. Remember, I'm an accountant. How much would you have paid them if you were paying them a salary every month? You see, you actually never thought about it. And you're supposed to be friends. The reason why I'm asking for the salary, supposing you were generous and you're paying $50, no, $100 a month, times 6 months, that's $600. Do you think that's 10% of the business? Or 50%?
It's more than 10%.
May I humbly ask you to reconsider 10%? Because as an outsider, I think I would feel like your friend is feeling. No payment for 6 months. You don't know how they were surviving, what they had to do to survive, but supporting your dream as a business. As much as you have a 50-50 with the other shareholder, the investor, how much time did the 50% cash investor put into the business?
Investor did not put any time. They just invested.
Sorry?
They invested money, no time.
Okay. Here's the thing. Why not bring your friend's shareholding to 30% and then you remain with 35 and 35? Or you give them 20% and 40-40 for you and the other shareholder, not 10%.
Thank you for the advice. I'm well answered.
All I'm asking for you to do is be a true friend, like they were with you. Thank you.
This will be our last question to your extreme right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful opportunity. I had to write this down so that I do not forget. So you say that if you find something that you love and you know that you deeply love that thing, you can make it. So as a child of God, I find something that I love that makes me feel good. And I know to a point that I'm very good at that thing. And even when I'm walking around, people know that I can do this thing. But then the environment that I'm in does not support me in whatsoever way I do. And it gets to a point, it gets to crush my dream, the environment that I'm in. So also our prophet always say, as a child of God, you do not live according to the environment of this world. But what happens then when my dream is deeply delved into the corrupt systems of this world? And in and and on the other hand, as a sports person, age is running away from me, and I'm in an environment that is crushing my dream. How do I really go about it? Because you see your age mates from other countries. Also for me, I love football. I want to play football. That's my dream. But I look at Phil Foden. He's earning something like 350,000 a week. And if you look at those guys, maybe they didn't even go to school to certain levels, but they're making 350,000 a week. Who can give you that amount at work? No one. So how do I really go about it?
Okay. Have you been to a sports academy,
Yes.
soccer academy?
Yes.
And how were you received?
Very good, sir.
By whose standards?
I was by PE Academy. I don't know how many stars they're going to give that one, but in this country, they're rated.
The reason why I'm saying by whose standards?
Yes.
Peter Ndlovu, Benjamin Mwaruwari, there's a Chirewa youngster who's playing for Wolves now, and there's a Rushesha guy whose dad was my schoolmate, the Zimbabwean. The reason why I'm asking is, the standard that counts is the one where Foden is. Is your sports academy, your soccer academy, linked to scouts from the UK or Spain or France?
It's not linked, sir, but how do I really do it? Because
who owns the academy? Do you know?
it's the school authorities. They own the academy.
So this is the Prince Edward School thing?
Yes.
Mukoma I think we can link him with Munyati.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, before I finish answering you, let me say something about networking. You should be able to get whatever you want within 6 phone calls. If you find yourself failing to get what you want in 6 phone calls, within reason, you are not yet networked. Now, going back to the young man, I can see you're actually athletic. When I link you with the Munyatis, Wane Soccer Academy, if you make the grade, you go through because they are connected.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Number
Thank
two, whilst you are at the academy, how else do you think you can earn money?
At the moment, I do write business ideas in my diary book. I do some kind of researches about business, but I'm not into any business at the moment.
When did you finish school?
2020.
So almost 4 years now?
Yes.
Or 4.5?
Yes, yeah, 4
3.5,
years.
sorry. So, what skill have you acquired post-high school apart from your natural talent to play football?
I wanted to go into culinary arts, but it's unfortunate that I didn't have the money to go to school.
Writing business plans, culinary arts, football. Which one is number one?
Football.
Okay. You gave the correct answer, so we'll link you with the Munyatis.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Like I was saying to the youth pastor, I could do this for the whole day, but unfortunately my time is limited. All the same, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. To the guys from Dola, Natotela, or Zikomo. That's Bemba and Chewa. In Ndebele, Nyawunga Kakulu. In Portuguese, obrigado. Thank you very much. And prophet and prophetess, once again, thank you for allowing me to stand in front of you. Thank you.